people came here to say, what can I do now? What can I, what impact can I make in society, for my personal life? I mean, there's a lot of reasons that people consider renewable energy, but I think one that is starting to loom very strong in the minds of most people is it's profitable.
Yeah.
You don't have to get up every morning and worry about what the stock market's doing. You're making 9 or 10% return on your investment every day, all day, if the sun's out. If it's not out, well, then you go on about your day. So doing this, anything that you can do on a small scale, recycling, you know, changing your car to a hybrid or an EV or a new water tank can make a big difference. There were a couple people outside that we were talking to, and they said, what can I do? I said, the first thing you need to do is to learn how to study and know your electric bill and what's going on with your electric bill. So I'll talk about 4 broad points during the course of this little get-together, and I'll try to save about 15 minutes for questions. It's going to be very casual, but for those of you that know me, I've been doing this since 1974. And in 1974, I founded the American Wind Energy Association in Detroit, Michigan, by the way, which is quite a feat. We brought people from all over the world, the only few wind people we could find. Most of them died a few years later from the past, and we put together an organization that's now, what, 300 billion or more? Nonprofit, of course. And, you know, during the course of my walk, we have had tax credits, haven't had tax credits, been good politics, not so good politics, living in a big city, working through systems. But generally, what I'd like to say to start, before I start, you know, talking about some of this stuff, you know, my company has been at the forefront of many changes, assisting other companies in the solar industry and in the wind industry a little bit, but I'm going to spend a lot more time talking on solar because that is the here and now product, and the product that you're probably most interested in at this point in time. These 4 areas would take days to totally unpack, but right now, if we take and think about solar energy and wind energy, and you say to yourself, all right, what has really transpired to make this more viable now than it did 20 years ago, than we had 20 years ago? Well, one of the things that's made it more viable, and I'll deal with the mechanics of it. We have inverters now that make cleaner power than utilities do. We have solar panels that make electricity from both sides of the solar panel. So in northern Michigan, where there's snow and there's wind, you've got about 18% more production coming off that panel, if it's on the ground, of course. On the roof, well, you'll have to look at this, look at the snow. We have the mechanisms. We're talking about coatings that they're putting on wind turbine blades and putting on solar panels to shed dirt, ice, improve the transmissivity of or lower the transmissivity of the light hitting the panel, and also to take care of the industrial particulates that settle on a solar panel and make them less viable. So those are 3 or 4 items that just apply to solar. Solar has become about 75% more efficient than it was when I started. There was no photovoltaic at the time. I think NASA developed photovoltaic solar on some of the earlier NASA research, and it didn't become really viable until the 1990s, late 90s, to be, as a matter of fact. So you've got solar panels, the coatings, and batteries. Batteries are storage systems that take away the comment, what happens when the sun doesn't shine? And it's a very common term. You'll hear that throughout a conversation when you're trying to talk about solar. Batteries will protect your home just like a backup generator would. They will modulate critical loads, or they will run the whole home. And batteries are very internet savvy, like a smart meter, and they will also be able to, how would you say, accomplish broader pictures. VPP, and I heard Ellen mention Salt Lake City. In Salt Lake City is a solar battery complex. They have 1,000 batteries in 1,000 apartment buildings, and when the Rocky Mountain Power Company decides they want power, they can instantly tap those batteries and use it as a peaking plant. So there's a lot coming out of the solar industry, you know, and we are just starting to scratch the surface. Most of the development has taken place in the past decade. Of course, energy systems and energy design systems, we have improved, society has improved getting something on a roof, getting something on the ground, transporting it, cutting the cost. So I don't think you would see a system, whether it's a large commercial system or a small residential system, that is going to get a lot better at this point in time. Maybe the innovation will take place and move to, you know, some of the more exotic things people are talking about, tidal power, you know, wave power, hydrogen. A lot of those possibilities are there. They're just not quite there for the average person and the average homeowner. And what we're dealing with here is something small commercial and residential pretty much go hand in hand. There's not a lot that takes place between what you might say a rooftop job in Manistee versus a home in Manistee on 3rd Street or 5th Street. And some communities are being very progressive about this and moving forward. I'll give you a little example. Right now, Traverse Light and Power is running a program with all of their residents. They're offering a 3% loan and on-bill financing. That means it goes right, you pay for it right on your electric bill. They're offering that to every resident in their area, and it's being received quite well. You know, this is the beginning of a community trying to take advantage of A, interest, B, finances, and C, improving their own situation where they don't have to buy the power. They will have homeowners that are actually doing, when I talked to Dave Millark, who's going to be speaking here later, Dave sequesters carbon and I offset carbon with what we do. So there's quite a difference, but we need all of those things taking place. Well, TCLP is stepping forward, so is the city of Petoskey doing the same thing. They have a special program, a special buying group, where you can, you get the right pricing from people that are going to install it, and you train some of your local employees, local people to do some of the work as well. So the system of solar and or wind, but wind, most of what we know, most of the small wind companies have gone out of business, are not very viable at this point in time. So big wind is in a world all of its own. And they're producing some real large systems now, and it's a big advantage to the utility companies, but not to you directly. So that's why I spent most of my time, spending most of my time talking about solar. You know, the political arena couldn't be, political and social arena couldn't be better. There's a lot of interest, a lot of folks that are understanding how these systems work, and there are the Inflation Reduction Bill that was just passed. You may have, some of you may have read a letter to the editor that I wrote here about a month or so ago on the Inflation Reduction Act, because what it did is it opens an arena that we've never had before. All the nonprofits, churches, if you're a 501c3, churches, municipalities, they're all able to now invest in utilize solar energy. And we're not sure of the exact rebate process, but you would receive a check from the IRS for doing this. There's also a section in the IRA bill that talks about special consideration for low-income areas or low-income housing, and the tax credit can be up to 50%. So if with certain criteria, all of this is brand new as of August of last year. So we as a solar company are not any more appraised of that than you are, but we're seeing a lot of communities start to take action, and nonprofit organizations, a couple churches, and during the course of the next few years, everyone in every community is going to have access to renewable energy on site. Now, all of our work is dealt with on site. Our motto is one roof at a time, and that's the way we do it. Although we do a lot of ground mounts, we have developed special tracking devices to follow the sun. So some of the things that were not possible a decade ago are now more than possible and attainable for a homeowner. We're looking at payback periods in the 9 to 13-year range for residential. So if you're a senior, you've always got the out. You can say, well, I won't live long enough to get my investment. But in the same token, you have communities that need solutions, and they need to be addressed. Green, sustainable communities don't always have to be Ann Arbor. In downstate, we're looking at some real change taking place in Traverse City and in Petoskey, South Haven, all along the coastline. They're incentivizing folks, businesses, and residential people to get involved. Now, we all know that a solar panel can be put on a roof or on a rack, and it seems very simple, and it seems quite expensive when you're looking at that, but the costs have come way down. In 2010, we put in a solar system for $9.68 a watt. And now we're doing it for $3.50 a watt, or in that range, depending upon a lot of other conditions, how big is the electrical meter and so forth. So the change. And if that was done even on a larger scale, I'll give you an example. If the city of Manistee and the county of Manistee got together and bought one of the worst Superfund sites in the world right up above Martin Marietta, the black liquor ponds, and they bought that and they filled that. That's 65 acres. You could put 15 to 18 megawatts worth of solar on that property, and you could feed the city of Manistee, including the industrial park. That is something that is not being used now. There's money available, so I'm only bringing that up because let's take a hypothetical situation. You take the black liquor ponds, you put 15 or 20 megawatts worth of power out there, it goes to the community. The community has also incentivized, you have to have a utility that will do this, and that sometimes is a problem with the two big utilities, incentivize the installation of batteries like Sun Batteries, the company, one of the companies we deal with, or Tesla batteries, putting those in a home and business. You now have what's called a virtual power plant. And those batteries can be tapped by the utility company within 5 millihertz of just pushing a button used as a peaking power plant. So the reason I bring that up, because Jim McGinnis has a lot more to say about sustainable power plants and grids than I do, but just keep in mind that you are the grid. Consumers isn't the grid, you're the grid. If you're not on the grid, they have no business. So it's time that, now I'll give you an example. In Salt Lake City, Utah, they tap that, they've got those 1,000 batteries they can tap and pick up 10 megawatts worth of power instantly. And they're working to have 15,000 batteries in Salt Lake City to do this. So they can tap that. The homeowner is still getting the benefit of the solar, the battery, the tax credits, and all of the personal benefits, and they get paid by the utility for whatever is used out of that battery.